Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends podcast. With me today is another legend who is not a podiatrist. He's also a repeat offender. He's been on the podcast before. It is my good friend all the way over in Nevis. It is Wilson Lawrence, and he is a personal development and performance coach who helps people. And when I say people, I also mean podiatrists, because we are people, to transform their business and their personal lives. So, Wilson, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much, Tyson. Thank you for having me on the podcast again. I think this must be about my fourth or fifth time.
Well, I think it's the second time on Podiatry Legends.
Yes.
But you're on three times on It's No Secret with Dr. T. So if anyone hasn't checked out that podcast, there's 211 episodes over there of just amazing people all around the world. It was a fun podcast doing it, but it wasn't targeted towards podiatrists, which is how this podcast came about. So it is so good to have you on here again. And today we're talking about something a little bit different. And you called it, when I asked you what's the topic we're going to talk about, and this was a conversation we had a week previous, and you said the word performance pulses, and I went, "Ooh, that sounds great."
That got you a little bit hot under the collar, did it, Tyson?
Well, it did. It was how you explained it to me. I went, "Oh, everybody needs to hear this. That just makes sense." So I'm going to hand it over to you and let you get started.
Okay. Well, as Tyson introduced me, I am a personal development and performance coach. So what I do is I team up with people. I work with them to help them to transform their business and or personal lives, and sometimes I do it for companies as well. But I've relocated since last April here to the island of Nevis for compassionate reasons, because my mum is elderly and she's now in a nursing home suffering with dementia. So I'm over here just to be close to her and support as and where I can. So I've moved my business actually 100% online. So I'm a total online coach.
Because previous to that, you were in Bavaria, wasn't it?
I was in Bavaria, yeah.
What a change! You've gone from the snowy area of Europe to the tropics.
Yeah, for those people who like history, where I was living was a small village called Ramsau, and it's in a town called Berchtesgaden, which is probably famous for the wrong reasons. I'm not going to. I got told off last time by somebody for promoting it in the way that I did. So yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. It really is an absolute stunning place, and people are very surprised to find out what the history of this town is. So I think by the time this podcast interview ends, people will have been on Google. They would have looked up Berchtesgaden, which is spelled Berchtesgaden, and they will.
I'm glad you spelt that for us. So, what I was going to ask you, I don't know if I've asked you this before. Could you speak German before you went there, or did you learn German once you got there?
I could speak some German before I went there because I was part of the British Army of the Rhine in the 80s. So basically our mission with the British Army of the Rhine was to protect the West against an sorry, that came out wrong, against a Russian incursion. So this was during the Cold War.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, as a young 18-year-old soldier, you learn how to order beer, ein Bier bitte, you know, chicken and chips. Yeah, the essentials. And there are a few other things that probably should not be mentioned on your podcast show.
So then you've moved now, and Nevis, for anyone who's wondering, is in the Caribbean, depending where you are in the world. And
sorry, can you repeat the question?
I know. What I was saying is, you're now in Nevis, which is in the Caribbean or Caribbean, depending on how you prefer to say it. So
Yeah, the Caribbean.
Caribbean, I say the Caribbean. So now that you're 100% online, because when you were in Germany, I know you used to zip over to all these other countries and work with big companies putting programs together, but now you're working 100% online. But the whole thing about performance pulses, how did that come about, or what is a performance pulse?
Okay, am I just to give you a little bit of a history how that came about? Am I allowed to mention company names on here?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Okay, so I was hired by Red Bull head office in Fuschel am See in just outside Salzburg to deliver a series of workshops. And those workshops were effective meetings, writing with impact, which is basically business communication, how to write it effectively and efficiently. And the other subject was self and time management.
Yeah.
It was scripted. I'm not sure I should be saying that. But anyway, so I had to follow this red line script. But I read it, learned it. I learned the content, and I just thought, although I like the content, I think I can do it better. But I had to follow that red line. And all of self and time management, as I was doing this, because essentially what I was at that time, I was a communications coach, teaching English, the language of meetings, presentations, negotiations, and things like this. But I was getting stagnant and I wanted another challenge. And I guess the universe put this opportunity in my way. And I thought, okay, this woke me up. Maybe I can be a performance-related type of coach. Didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so that was the start of it. And as I went through these series of workshops, I did more self and time management workshops. I started to really think, well, actually, I should be doing some of this myself. I mean, a lot of it I was, but it made absolute sense. And so that's where the idea of me becoming a performance coach was born. And of course, the content within the self and time management workshop, which was a 2-day workshop, is really, really good. So I just refined it. I did more research, put a little bit of Wilson Lawrence into it. So it's got the Lawrence effect, and hey ho. So, I mean, it's essentially the same content, but it's how I like to deliver it. So what you were talking about was the performance pulses. But in order to get there, we need to go back, because I don't know if, I'm sure people will identify with this. We go to work and we're running around, we're a bit like headless chickens. We get home at the end of the day, we sit down and we say, my goodness, it's been such a busy day today. But we don't ask the question, how effective and efficient have I been?
Very much.
Yeah, we just know that we've been very, very busy. And then everybody has been, ticking off their items on their to-do lists. Yep, I've done my to-do list. So I've had a day of intention. I've been successful. When in actual fact, what have they done? They've probably only achieved maybe 20% of what they wanted to accomplish, because of distractions, because of working ineffectively and not being efficient in their tasks. So that's where all of this came about.
Well, I think this happens more though, especially like say in the podiatry world. If you go in your clinic at 8:30, you're there till 5:30, and you have 25 patients booked in for the day, at the end of the day, you will come home and say, "Oh, I'm really tired," and you know why you're tired. And you know what you've done, and you may have been really efficient. To me, I think this is really important. Learning this, it's for those days you say, "Wow, I'm taking Thursday to do certain stuff." It could be at home. It could be I'm doing certain stuff at work. I need to work on certain things. Or you might have a couple of days off, or you've employed some people and now you're only working 3 days a week with patients, but 2 days a week, you're going to work really hard on your business. You go in the office at 8:30, you come home at 5:30, you're tired, but you go, what did I get done though? When I really look at what I got
Got
done,
it.
I didn't
Yeah.
get anything done. And this is why I wanted to get you on here to talk about this.
Yeah. But you see also, Tyson, there, you see what people don't probably realize is that they're working most of the time against their brain functions. So I should imagine a podiatrist is working on the appointment system.
Yeah.
So they have to see patients. I don't know how they structure their day, but maybe if I just quickly run through something that I think is very, very important, because I think it will also resonate with people, is the prefrontal cortex. I'm sure a lot of us have heard about it. It's part of the brain that sits right at the very front, just here, right?
Yeah.
So the prefrontal cortex, as I understand it, has 5 primary functions. So that is understanding, describing, memory, recall, and inhibiting. The problem with the prefrontal cortex, it's a bit of a tongue twister, that one, is that it's like a battery, and it does run out of energy. The more you use it, the more it will be depleted. So that's where the idea of performance pulses comes into play. So you are doing your more mentally draining tasks at the beginning of the day, when your prefrontal cortex is full of that lovely metabolic energy, which is fueled by, unfortunately, the nutritionists are going to hate me for this, sugar and oxygen. And then, of course, we then tend to get into the office, and the first thing that we do is let's just check email. So why waste all of the prefrontal cortex energy doing what is called a low energy task? It actually doesn't make any sense.
It's true.
So yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So the idea of performance pulses is that we have these 90-minute sessions of pure concentrated work where we bunker-proof our desk, our office, our workspace. We minimize the risk of being distracted, and we just get our heads down and we work. We work through it, and then the reward is at the end of that 90 minutes, or however long you want to program it, we then have either a passive recovery break or an active recovery break, where we just get away from our desk, go and do something completely different, come back, and then we're restored, and then we can go on with our next performance pulse. That's the general idea behind what a performance pulse is.
Yeah, well, relating it to podiatry, even if a person had 15, 20, 25 patients booked in a day, going through what you were talking about then, if our mental energy is more powerful at first thing in the morning, therefore the type of patients we're seeing, the ones that are going to be more difficult, the ones that are going to take more thinking, more concentration, with better outcomes, are better to be earlier in the day. And then the type of patients where we don't really need to think, where we sort of, our monkey brain sort of takes over and you just go through the process, are probably better towards the end of the day. If you're just doing general foot care and you just, general conversation, you're not really thinking about too much what you're doing, why put them in the morning and burning up your mental energy with really simple podiatry tasks, and then later in the day trying to do the more complicated stuff where you've really got to think? And that's when I've seen podiatrists, and even in my own clinics, where they go 3 o'clock, I'm so tired. And you could see the performance with the patients, and the outcomes of the treatment sometimes weren't as good.
Let me just back that up. So I had some data, in fact, I still have it on my computer, some years ago, where they conducted a survey of something like 110 parole judges in the US.
I remember you telling me this. This is good.
Yeah, this is so interesting. And there's this curve. So when you got up in front of the parole judge first thing in the morning, it was noticed that pretty much most of the decisions were ruled in favor of the parolee, if the parolee had actually behaved well. And then just about, before lunchtime, they noticed that there was a dip in the trend. So there would be lunch, they would go away, they would have lunch, presumably some fresh air, coffee, tea, or whatever, beer. They would come back in the afternoon, and then they would.
I like that. Yeah, four beers. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they noticed that after lunch, the decisions were also back where they were, like they were first thing in the morning. They were more in favor of the parolee. And then they tailed off towards the later part of the afternoon, where, if you were the model prisoner and you were at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon in front of the parolee, I wouldn't fancy your chances. Yeah. So that is in line with what I was saying before. So one of the functions of the prefrontal cortex is deciding.
Yeah.
So it's deciding what tie you're going to. Yeah, I don't know whether you've ever had it when you used to wear suits. What tie do I wear? You put a tie on and you think, no, that's the wrong tie. And you might try 3 or 4 different pairs of ties, maybe socks, you change your shoes or something. I've done that myself.
Yeah,
but
it's
that
true.
all drains that function of the prefrontal cortex. So this is why regular breaks are important. And I will stress this. If you have a break at your PC and you go on Google, you go on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, or whatever it is, you are still not having a recovery break because you're using functions of the prefrontal cortex. In fact, you're using all of them. You're using understanding, maybe deciding, memory, recall, and inhibiting. So you're still draining that. So the idea between the performance pulses to take an active or passive recovery break is to get away from all of that, switch yourself off, and then re-energize yourself, come back, and then you go into your next performance pulse.
So could this also relate to your patients that are sitting in front of you? If they've had a very busy day and they've burnt up all their mental energy, they're sitting in front of you. And this is why when I used to present a treatment plan to a patient, I would give them one choice on what to do. This was the treatment plan. I wouldn't say, oh, you can do this, 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 and give them 4 different options. And you've got a patient who's already, the mental energy is burnt up. And then they're sitting in front of you. You're the health professional. They're expecting you to tell them what they need to do. And the health professional goes, oh, no, here's 3 choices. And they're like, oh. And I always say, a confused mind says no. So this can relate to patients as well.
Absolutely.
What time you're seeing certain patients in the day, not just for your own treatment and mental energy, for the patient's mental energy as well.
Is it possible for the podiatrist to actually scale that? So if they know their patients well, would they have the ability to say, well, this patient could be quite demanding, so let's have that patient first thing in the morning?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, some of your more regular patients, if you're doing general foot care and you've got patients that come in every month, 6 weeks, 2 months, just for general foot care, some of those patients, it sort of then be a balancing act, because you would have some patients that can be a little bit testy at times. So it could be because they're grumpier in the afternoon, whereas if you saw them earlier in the day, they might be nicer. But then at the same time, you've got to go, well, do I want to burn up my mental energy at the beginning of the day with them? Or let's be testy together in the afternoon?
You see, I would be very tempted. Very tempted. I don't know how this would work at the appointment making stage, unless they're using something like Calendly, so they're doing it completely automated to say, Mr. Patient, when would you prefer your appointment to be? Morning or afternoon?
Yeah, we always ask that anyway.
Right. So if they're choosing appointments that are not suitable for them because they're going to be testy, what would need to happen to get around that?
Yeah, I think the only problem would be most people would not be aware of the mental energy or performance pulses. So to them, it's just, good day, bad day, good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, they're totally unaware of their brain function and their energy levels and what
That's correct.
makes them happy. So it's like, I think it's even yourself. You wake up if you have a great night's sleep, and you might have kids and they're carrying on and making a bit of noise. First thing in the morning, you got heaps of mental energy. They're making noise. That probably doesn't bother you too much. You come home in the afternoon, you're tired, and they're doing exactly the same thing they were doing in the morning. Next thing, it gets under your skin. You start to get agitated. You're annoyed, frustrated, but they're doing exactly the same thing. So this applies, and this is what you're saying. It's not just in their business life, but it's also in their personal life.
Do podiatrists play, I don't know, sort of music or binaural beats and tones in their practices?
Not that I'm aware of. Some might.
Yeah, because I went to a dentist in Bad Reichenhall in Germany, and they were playing dolphin songs. It was amazing.
Well, it's squeaky noises.
Brilliant. Yeah, squeaky noises and whale song. I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Whale song. It was absolutely beautiful. You know, and a lot of people don't like the sound of that drill, do they? And me included. And it completely distracted me, and because I had something else to focus on.
Yeah, I've gone into places where there's like massage, and they'll have whale noises and waterfalls running. And every time I hear a waterfall for more than a minute, I want to pee. Yeah, I got to go. Like, can you turn that off? And but I remember going to another masseuse once, and she had AC/DC playing, and thunder, and it was great. I was like, yes, this was fantastic. It was very relaxing with loud music playing in the background.
Or maybe it could be something as simple as, we've got a Bluetooth speaker. If you've got your playlist on your phone, what music would you like us to play through our Bluetooth speaker to give them that choice? You see.
Yeah.
But let's just go back to what clustering is.
Yes, this is. Yep.
So for me, when I'm having a discovery call with a potential client, if it's self and time management, and they're saying, God, I'm working 16 hours a day. I get home, I'm tired. Sometimes I don't even get home in time to put my kids to bed. I'll have dinner, I'll sit down, whack the telly on, and I'll fall asleep. And my wife is sitting there, and she's disgruntled because she has no company. And then it's the same the weekend, because at the weekend, I just want to go home. I want to sit down. I want to relax. She's getting on at me because the lawn needs mowing or something like this. And,
have you been watching? Have you got a video camera in my house? That's how I used to be. That's how it used to be.
There you go. You are not the only one. And so what we then do is, and I give them a quantifiable end result, because I know already as a personal development and performance coach that a high percentage of people are not working effectively and efficiently. So I will say to them, at the end of our coaching package, I can guarantee you that I will buy you some time. You will have free time with your family. Probably you are having a problem accepting that that's going to be so simple, but let's go through the exercise. So the first thing that I do is I look at all of their activities. What are your high energy tasks? Your high energy tasks are the energy consumption tasks, are the ones where you need to concentrate. So for a lot of people, that might be budgeting, planning, working on a spreadsheet. They really have to focus.
Writing a blog article for some people just does their head in, having to write. Some people find it easier.
What I found for myself is, I do like background noise, so I tend to listen to white noise. Now, if you'd have told me this 5 years ago, I would have said, listen to white. No. Put some Aretha Franklin on or something. That was fine. But I get my earbuds out, I put them in, and I'm listening to white noise. And what I like is I love the sound of jet engines when you're at 33,000 feet, and you're at cruising altitude. It's great. And that helps me to focus.
Just
and then you get
that roar of an engine.
Yes. Yeah. There's
Okay.
lots of them on YouTube. If you put in white noise in YouTube, lots of them will come up. You get rainforests, you get thunderstorms, you get a space rocket, planes, everything. There's lots there. And you just find your own. So if you have to sit down and really concentrate, good set of headphones or earbuds. I don't do it through my stereo.
But it's funny you say that, though, because how many times have you been at somebody says, and my wife Christine says this all the time, we'll be at home and all of a sudden it's raining outside. And she go, oh, I always feel so relaxed when you hear that rain. And I must admit, even in my office here, I've got a window right next to me, is when it's raining outside, not like a massive storm, but just that constant rain, and you can hear it, it is actually very relaxing. It does put me in a good headspace.
Unless you're here in the Caribbean, it's like a bloody monsoon.
Oh, that's what I see. I'm in the tropics too.
Yeah. So we look at all of those tasks. So we'll brainstorm, and I will dig and dig and dig. Can you think of anything else that you really need your full concentration, a task that you do? So they have a worksheet, and they will put these down in the deep thinking tasks.
Yeah.
Then we'll move to the next category. The next category are meeting tasks. Now, this is kind of like a tricky one because I'll say to you, oh, Tyson, let's have a meeting next week on Monday or Wednesday. When are you free? You'll probably say Wednesday or something like that. I said, okay, well, let's meet between 9 and 10. Bang, that's an hour.
Yeah.
Straight away, that's an hour. Why does that meeting have to be an hour? Why does it have to be in the morning? Okay. So we look at the number and the frequency of meetings that people have, and we put them in their own cluster.
Can I ask you a question just about meetings then? Since you mentioned meetings, sometimes there's been a lot of talk about having like a morning huddle. Yeah, first 10 minutes of the day, getting together and just looking at what's coming up for the day and making sure everyone's on the same page, everyone's on the same game plan. Would that be classed as like it's an important task, but do you really need a lot of mental energy for that? Or would that be better to be done at the last thing in the day to be prepared for the next day when your mental energy is a bit lower? Yes,
because now you've thrown that into the mix. I would see the morning huddle or whatever it is as a routine task. And the third category of tasks are routine tasks.
Yeah.
The things you do regularly on a day-to-day basis. Email checking, I don't know, morning huddle sure fixes, things like this. And so I like the idea that you've come up, well, why don't we do the huddle the last thing during the day. So we finish the day on a high, we come in, we know what we've got to do, and we can get straight on with it. We've got a cup of coffee, and we go into our first performance pulse, which is our deep thinking tasks.
Yeah. Okay. So this will apply a lot, especially for if there's a podiatrist who's working full-time, 8:30 to 5:30, 5 days a week with the patients. So I think they can use this where they can sort of strategically place certain patients earlier in the day while their mental energy is high. But I think this is really important for the podiatrists that are in that transition of they're working 2 to 4 days a week and they're having 1 to 3 days off working on their business. I think this is really, really important.
Tyson, I hope that this doesn't come across as being a little bit forward, but I'd like to support you in what you do. And I would like to put aside in February 2 days where I will do free strategy calls for your podiatrists. They can have my link to my calendar, and I will do a free session with them to cluster, to find out what their tasks are, to cluster them, and then suggest some performance pulses. I don't mind doing that as long as I can select the days. I can give maybe you or them the link, and we can hit the floor running.
Yeah, well, if you give me all the information, I can put the information in the show notes, and then I can also in the Podiatry Business Owners Club on the Podiatry Legends page, I can put the information there so people can click on it and do the same thing. So even while we're recording this, most of my day today, I had the day free. I thought, I could just be doing nothing, or I had nothing booked in. So I'm doing the same thing. I said, if anyone's got any questions they want to ask me about their podiatry business, about their career, here's my Calendly link, just go on and make a time. So I've got, I think, 7 people I'm talking to today, just over certain things. So no, thank you for offering that. I'm sure there'll be a few people that'll take it up.
No, I would love to, but I mean, they of course, my Calendly link will automatically take into consideration the time difference.
Well, the good part for you is the people that listen to this. If I look at the numbers, it's split almost 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 between Australia, United States, and UK. So the people listening to this, I'm sure there'll be heaps of people. It'll all fit in their time zone perfectly. Whereas when I talk to you, I have to get up early.
I know. I mean, before the interview, you did make me understand that you'd just woken up.
I either have to talk to you early in the morning or it's late at night.
That's correct.
But the thing is, with podiatrists working, the later evening things are probably going to suit them better if you're in Australia. Whereas in the UK, they'll be able to grab it early mornings, and you're on the same time zone as United States anyway. So that'll fit in perfectly. So thanks for offering that. And now I'll just tell everyone, we hadn't planned this beforehand. Wilson has just graciously offered that, or generously offered it. So like I said, I'll get all the information off you, and then we'll put it in the notes and get it out there.
And I think that a question that people should be asking themselves is, am I focusing on 80% of my tasks and only accomplishing 20% of the results? And then what we so this is the 80-20
the Pareto principle.
Wilfredo Pareto. And then what I aim to do is to get them to turn that around by clustering, making performance pulses, and then the consideration is, so what 20% of the tasks, when I've got them in front of me and I'm planning, do I focus on, which is going to bring me 80% of the results? When I first started working this way in 2014, I did not believe it. And then all of a sudden, very quickly, because I stuck to it, I was sitting there in the afternoon twiddling my thumbs, feeling guilty that I've done everything. I'm thinking, I must have missed something, because you become it's a success habit. It really is a success habit. And the thing is, it's like when you all of a sudden have this free time to go to the beach, to do great things with your family, to work on a personal project, to go running, go to the gym, go kickboxing or whatever, it's kind of strange, because you're sitting there thinking, God, I should be doing something more productive. But the thing is, you are being productive because you become more effective and efficient with yourself and time management. But in those quiet moments where you think, I should be doing something, there's always the focusing question that you can ask yourself. And the focusing question, and I'll repeat it twice, is what can I do right now such that by doing it, it will make everything else easier or unnecessary? The one thing.
The one thing. Great book.
It really works. What's the one thing that I could or even should be doing right now such that by doing it, it will make everything else easier and or unnecessary? And if something springs to mind, it's accountability. Get up, go and do it. Easier said than done.
So going back to the 3 types of tasks that we're doing.
Yes.
Can you repeat those 3 tasks and just where they should fit in again throughout the day?
So the idea is that the deep thinking tasks would
Yep.
be your first performance pulse, and they would be done in the morning. So a performance pulse for me, if I'm depending on how the client is working, would be a 90-minute period of work.
Okay.
The active or the passive recovery break would be 15 minutes. So we can program 2 performance pulses in the morning, depending on how that person is working and what their hours are, with a recovery break. And then in the afternoon, then we have a look at, after lunch, maybe the 3rd performance pulse would be meeting performance pulse. And then at the end of the day, then we do the routine tasks. With email, it's a little bit tricky because people say, well, I have to respond to my email as and when they come in. Really? Because,
I know.
Yeah, if it really is that important, the person will call you. So what you can also do is you can schedule to check your emails at the end of each performance pulse. But what that means is that if you go in and you look at your inbox and you open your emails, you don't double dip your emails. You open them, you do something with them, and you get rid of them.
Yeah, makes sense. Like when it comes to emails too, I remember we were in a few years back, pre-COVID, and we were on Treasure Island in Fiji. So we arrive on the island, and I was one of those people that always had to feel like I had to be checking my emails, had to be in touch with what was happening. Got on the island, no internet. So we're there for 7 days, and I went the whole 7 days, did not check my emails. Came back home, and my thinking about work and everything had completely changed because I realized the world didn't come to an end with me not checking my emails. There wasn't one email there that when I eventually got to the 1,000 or so that were waiting for me, that was life-changing or couldn't wait a few days. Or when I did respond, said, oh, sorry, I was in Fiji for a week. I was on holidays. Oh, that's understandable. So the world did not come to an end.
Well, you've just triggered something else in me there by saying that. Well, you know where I live. I live in Nevis.
Yeah.
Just behind me is the Four Seasons Resort for Nevis. It's one of the exclusive resorts on the island. It's right on the beach. And if I walk along there on the way to the beach bar for a beer, how I can guarantee you that on the sun lounges, I will walk past no less than 10 people who are on notebooks, laptops or whatever, doing something. And I guarantee that some of them are working. I guarantee it. So
yeah,
what's the point?
When we were in Bali, there were a lot of people that were sitting in coffee shops with their laptops doing work, and they called them something. Oh, they called them something cowboys. I can't remember what they called them.
Keyboard cowboys.
Yeah, it might have been keyboard cowboys, but they were. But that was their work. Their work was they go to a coffee shop and they were doing the work. But
yeah, you see the kids playing.
Oh, because you're talking their Four Seasons, they're there for holidays, but they're on their laptop actually working, whereas
exactly.
they're not turning off.
The kids are there playing.
Yeah.
The kids are there playing and whatever. And either the husband or the wife, who depending who's got the nose stuck in their laptop, they're not paying attention to the kids. They're not. So my question to them would be, if you're saying yes to work right now, what are you saying no to during your holiday?
Yeah.
You see, so it's all about a choice. But I should imagine the answer would be, yeah, but I'm very important, so I have to check my emails once or twice a day. Really? Okay, fine. For me, that signifies either the person is not working effectively and efficiently, or they are stuck in their work identity, and that is a completely different ballgame.
And I'm sure everybody listening to this has been guilty of exactly what you said. Like I know the last time we went to Bali, and I knew when we were there, I knew when we were going that I had a couple of coaching calls to do that week. So I could have either cancelled the coaching calls or I just went, no, I'll just leave them on. So I did. I had my laptop there and I did do those coaching calls, but everybody else knew. I'd already explained to everybody else, this is what I'm doing. But it wasn't like I was doing them all day. I do one then from 9 to 10:30, and then the rest of the day was mine. I wouldn't touch my computer anywhere near that. And I didn't feel too bad doing that because it was a work / it was a holiday as well. I've been guilty of checking my emails on trips, but then after that Fiji trip, I learned, you know what, I can go to Disneyland and not care what's happening around me. And if I do need to check my emails, I'll check it at 10 o'clock at night when everyone's gone to bed.
Exactly. Yeah, because you can also have a performance pulse while you're on holiday and you agree it with your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to be present with you on the beach. You know, I'm going to be present. So if we're going quad biking, you're not going to be checking your email while you're on a quad bike, are you? Or horse riding?
No.
You know, so what's the difference? It's just a different type of activity where the person will seize the opportunity. Oh, I've got a few minutes that don't really mean nothing. The kids are playing in the sea. My wife is online shopping or something. I'll check my emails. And I think that is probably where things start going wrong, because that can have an effect on a relationship. You know, when I was in Austria, I was coaching. Do you know the brand Miele? They make Miele. So I was coaching one of the directors of this company. Typical situation, working lots of hours, and actually he was the model that I was explaining earlier on. Working lots of hours, getting him home late, so quite often not being able to play with his kids. By the time I finished with him, he was leaving at 4:30 every afternoon and leaving at 1 o'clock on Friday afternoons.
Mm.
Yeah, and and we had fun. We had fun doing it. So why is it? I think the question is, why is it that people become so? This is kind of, I don't want to say this out of turn. Ineffective at their roles, thinking that they've got to show up, all hours of the day to answer emails, attend me. I'm on holiday, but it's okay. I can squeeze a meeting in. Why?
Yeah. Well, it's the same. Like I said, when we were in Bali, I looked at the coaching calls, even though I knew that I think I had 3 on that week, but I made sure, I said, put them on. I said, if we're going to do them, we need to do them in the morning. Yeah, that my time's going to be in Bali. Do it in the morning, because I knew 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when there's $2 bintangs down on the beach, you do not want to be doing a coaching call with me at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because it's not that, have you had too much to drink by then? It's just, if you've been in the pool, you have a big lunch, you've been running around. Mentally, I knew I would be tired by 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Whereas first thing in the morning, I knew, I had my wits about me. Everybody else was usually sleeping in from a late night, so I would be ready. And once you got that done, you had the rest of the day to actually then enjoy yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there you go. You see, so you get the most important tasks and difficult tasks done first thing in the morning, and the rest of the day is a breeze. I don't know whether or not this would resonate with you. Have you ever had situations where late in the day, sometime in the afternoon, early evening, you're faced with a situation where you have to make a decision and you're really struggling to reach that decision, but you say, you know what, I'm going to sleep on it and I will make the decision in the morning. You wake up in the morning, you come into work, bam, that decision is straight there.
Yeah.
That's because your prefrontal cortex function of deciding is fully recharged.
It's true. It is hard to make decisions when you're tired, and it's easy to sometimes make the wrong decision when you're tired, because I'll just do that because it's easier, because it just feels like the easiest thing to do, so you do it. So also, I'm just looking at the time. Have you got anything else that you want to say before we wrap up? This has been great.
Decisions making. There should be a matrix, and I use a matrix called TERMS, which stands for the time that you've got to make the decision, the education or equipment, the resources, what money's involved, and what is the stress level. And if we run any potential decision through that matrix, we're likely to make a good decision. And that's all.
That is fantastic. So if you want to hunt Wilson down online, you can find him on Facebook. Just look for Wilson Lawrence, and on LinkedIn, he is Wilson Lawrence 14 and Wilson_Lawrence_coaching. So I will put those links in the show notes. Plus, you'll give me your Calendly information, and I'll put the link to that in the show notes as well. And Wilson, I want to thank you for generously giving up your time again today to come on the podcast. And I'm sure I will have you back in the future. So thank you very much.
It's been a great pleasure, Tyson. And while I'm having my triple stack burger tonight, I'm definitely going to be thinking of you.
Oh, I do love my burgers. So send me a photo. When you get your burger, make sure you send me a photo. I love seeing other people's burgers as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay. Bye.